Hello students, we are continuing the chapter Microorganisms, Friend or Foe, and the topic we are going to study today is the harmful microorganisms. Okay, so harmful microorganism, when we say, okay, these are what? These are known as pathogens. Okay, so these are pathogens. Why we are saying that these harmful microorganisms are pathogens? Because they are causing what? Disease, and all the disease causing microorganisms are known as pathogens. Okay, so some of the microorganisms, okay, they are harming us, okay, somehow or the other, okay, but some microorganisms also spoil what? The food, the clothes, leather, okay, everything which is, I'll say, biodegradable in nature, okay, they act on that and they spoil it, okay. So basically we say in terms of our daily use, like food, clothes and leather, and yes, we should not forget their harmful nature, which they causes disease to the animals, the plants, as well as the human beings. Okay. Now, so the disease this causing microorganisms in humans will be studying in a more elaborate manner. Okay. Now, how does this occur actually? These microorganisms, okay, they enter the human beings, okay, the body of the human beings. By what? By breathing, by water, by food. It means by air, by food, or by water. Okay, we require air, isn't it, for respiration? We breathe, isn't it? With that, number of spores can enter our body. Okay, we drink water and we eat food. If they are contaminated with the microorganisms, they will enter our body. Okay, so when these contaminated water or food, or we are saying that yes, this air consisting of spores of the microorganism infects any person, the person gets infected. Let us see, we can think about water. Okay, chalo. Water's number of diseases can occur, like you can see cholera, typhoid. Okay, if a person drinks a water which has been contaminated with this cholera or this typhoid bacteria, okay, what happens? It enters the body and the person becomes infected. Okay, so and if we are talking about air, okay, so air, tuberculosis, that is caused by bacteria, okay, smallpox, chickenpox, mumps, measles, okay, what happens? These disease causing microorganisms, how actually they cause the diseases in human beings, okay. So these microorganisms enter the human being's body or the human body with the help of air when we breathe in, okay, with water and with food, okay. So, like in air, we are seeing that is what we are doing. We are aspiring, we are taking in the air, okay. If that air is consisting of the spores of the microorganisms, they also enter the body, isn't it? Like water, the water and the food, if they are contaminated, it will enter the human body. Okay, so let us see some diseases, take some examples of some diseases, like when we are breathing in air. Okay, this air consists of the spores of the microorganisms. Okay, like we can take the example of tuberculosis. It is caused by the causal organism is what? The bacteria, isn't it? The bacillus form of bacteria. Okay, so bacteria, and it enters the body. Suppose if an infected person is there, okay, and he coughs, okay, or he sneezes, what happens? The spores gets spread in that environment, and the person, healthy person, if he or she is sitting beside him, they will also catch that, because they are taking in the spores with the help of the air which is going inside their body. Okay, so the microorganisms can be spread by breathing, water and food. Breathing air, we have seen one example, tuberculosis. You can take the example of smallpox, which is caused by what? Virus. You can take the example of mumps. You can take the example of chickenpox. These are all viral diseases, because the causal organism is what? The virus. Okay, and virus is what? A microorganism. Okay, like if we take the example of water, okay, cholera, typhoid, these diseases, deadly diseases, we will be saying, because initial stages it is not so harmful, but yes, if a person catches this disease, that is the typhoid or cholera, It becomes difficult and sometimes even death also causes, okay. So these are what? The bacterial diseases, okay. If a healthy person takes that water, contaminated water, what will happen? He or she will be suffering from that disease, that is cholera or typhoid, whichever infected organism enters the body of the human being, okay. Like with the food also, what happens? Here also, by food also microorganisms can enter, okay. Suppose if you are saying the food, if it is has been spoiled, okay, and you are eating that food, naturally what will happen? It will create toxins. Sometimes what happens, if you eat the food which has been infected by the microorganism, okay, you vomit or there are loose motions, okay. So this can happen, and this is how the microorganisms enters the human body, okay. So by breathing, by water, by food, okay, a person can be infected by a microorganism, okay. And when a person, healthy person, gets infected, okay, now he will be suffering from some disease or the other, which the spores or the which microorganism has entered the body. When these diseases are spread, okay, when these diseases are spread through the air, okay, or in this, like for example, right now only you can take the example of this coronavirus, okay. It is said that you have to put on mask, isn't it? And you have to be aware everywhere that you should keep distance. Why these are being said? Because if a infected person, okay, with this coronavirus, okay, is beside you, and if he or she sneezes, okay, or even coughs, what happens? The spores gets spread in that area. And if you are accidentally present over there, what will happen? If you have not kept a mask or anything, you will take up the air as it is, and that virus will enter your body, and then what it will do, you all are knowing, okay, isn't it? It creates totally disaster in our body. So much harmful effects, even death, so many deaths are caused. And here we are seeing from one person to another person, just with the help of the air, it is being transmitted. And those type of diseases are known as communicable diseases. So what are communicable diseases? Which can be spread from one person to another with the help of what? Air, water or food, okay. With food and water, if the saliva touches, and with the same glass if you are taking that water, that disease will be occurred in your body also, because that microorganism enters your body, okay. That with the food also. So it is said that never drink or eat, okay, a food or water drinking, okay, of a person who has already been infected. Suppose one person is having even TB, okay, TB means tuberculosis. In that also, it is also a communicable disease. With the air it spreads, okay, and even their utensils and all are kept aside, okay. No one should use that, because with the saliva also what happens? The microorganisms gets spread, and those type of diseases are known as what? Communicable diseases, okay. Now, diseases are spread by animals. Animals are transmitters. You know, we are said that yes, keep hygiene. Okay. Why? Why this hygiene is required? Because number of animals are involved in the transmission of the diseases or transmission of the microorganisms, basically. Okay. So these animals which are transmitting the microorganisms are known as what? The carriers. Okay, so carriers, what can be the carriers? Carriers can be insects, carriers can be flies, carriers can be animals, okay, number of things, okay. If you want to talk about this malaria disease, okay, this is also a deadly disease, we'll be saying, too much of fever, shivering, isn't it? And this is caused by what? This plasmodium. Plasmodium is what? A protozoan, okay. It means it is a microorganism, okay. And this plasmodium doesn't enter our body as it is. It is carried by what? The Anopheles female mosquito. This is the carrier of this microorganism, that is the plasmodium. Okay. So this plasmodium is carried by this Anopheles mosquito. When this Anopheles female mosquito, okay, bites your skin, what happens? this microorganism, that is the plasmodium, which is a protozoan, enters your body. Okay, and then it causes the disease that you all know, that is malaria. Okay, so here, this is why it is advised to everyone that yes, don't allow the water to be collected in any place, because what happens if the water is collected at any place, even in the tire tubes or any empty vessel or anywhere, okay, what happens, there is a chance, okay, of these mosquitoes to breed over there. Okay, and yes, it multiplies over there. If the breeding goes on very fast, naturally number of these Anopheles mosquitoes will be created, and these will be carrying this microorganism, that is plasmodium, which when enters the body, what happens, causes malaria. Okay, so one thing is that never allow the water to be collected at any place. Okay, so that you can at least slow down the breeding of this Anopheles mosquitoes. Okay, one more thing is there. Okay, beta, this gambusia is used for eating the larvae of this female mosquito, and this is how also we can control the multiplication of this Anopheles female mosquitoes or Anopheles mosquitoes, so that it can't carry this microorganism, that is the plasmodium, and yes, this disease malaria, okay, can be prevented. Okay, now coming to the disease causing microorganisms in animals, we have right now discussed about the human beings. Okay, now we are moving on to the animals. Okay, so if we are talking about animals, it is not only the human beings, animals as well as the plants, all are affected by this microorganism and its harmful effects. Okay, so human beings you have studied. Okay, now coming to the microorganisms, its harmful effect or the disease causing effect of these microorganisms in the animals. So one of the disease, that is anthrax. Okay, you have studied about this disease in class 7 also. Okay, this disease actually it is caused in both humans as well as the cattle. Okay, now this disease, about this disease, who said it first? He was Robert Koch. Okay, so this disease is actually caused by a bacterium, and the name of that bacterium is Bacillus anthracis. Okay, so what happens actually in this disease? Okay, there are actually first the symptoms which can be seen. It can be, or if it is in a simple manner, it can be blisters on the, or ulcers on the skin. Okay, but yes, later on what happens, it affects totally the respiratory system, and if it becomes too deadly, okay, deaths can also be caused. If the disease is at a height, this anthrax, this can cause even death to the human being or the cattle. Okay, now coming to disease causing microorganisms in plants. Studied about human beings, studied about animals, now coming to plants. And there are one of the diseases I have said to you, but yes, there are number of diseases which microorganisms are causing to the animals. Number of fungal, bacterial and the viral diseases. Okay. Now, disease causing microorganisms in the plants, only few we are discussing over there, but there are number of diseases which are caused by the microorganisms in the plants. Okay, so which we are discussing here is the citrus canker. The citrus canker, naturally it is a bacterial disease. Okay, and how it is spread? It is spread with the help of air. Okay, and basically this citrus canker, when we are seeing it, basically occurs in the citrus fruits and the vegetables. Okay, now rust of wheat. Okay, this is a disease which is found in wheat plants. Okay, and the causal organism is fungi. Okay, and how it is carried? It is carried with the help of air or seeds. Okay, now here yellow vein of mosaic of bhindi. Okay, bhindi is what? The lady's finger, or we can say the okra. Okay, here actually what happens, this yellow vein of mosaic in bhindi, it is found on that, and here this disease is caused by what? The virus. Okay, the causal organism is the microorganism is the virus. Okay, and who carries it? That is the insect. So insect is the carrier. Okay. Now, this when we talk about the citrus canker or the rust of wheat or the yellow vein, whatever we are saying, this what happens, this does not allow the plants to grow. Naturally, the time come, if it is not controlled, the plant dies. Okay. Now, when we talk about the harmful effects of microorganism, we can also say about the food poisoning. Okay. Food poisoning, I have explained you in the section over there also that how microorganisms enter the human beings. Okay. This food poisoning, actually, if the food has been spoiled by any microorganism, okay, they release what? Actually, when the microorganism act on the food, suppose food 2 days before it has been made and it is kept outside only, okay, and the third day you just have it without taking any precaution or without seeing anything, even though its color is changed, it is smelling, and if you eat it, what happens? You will be seriously ill after some time, isn't it? Why does this happen? Because these microorganisms produces toxins in the food. When they are acting on the food, they are producing the toxins, and these toxins, when they are entering your body, what happens? It is affecting you. By you will be vomiting, or your loose motions will start, or your stomach will ache. And yes, if it is too harmful, too much of toxins are there, naturally, if this condition is not under control, even death can happen. So never eat a spoiled food, okay, which has been contaminated with this microorganisms. Okay, we should eat fresh food, okay, even everything, fresh fruits also, because microorganisms we can't see with our eyes. Okay, and naturally we can't make it out. Sometimes if slight infection is there, okay, no smell, no color change, nothing, and if you have it, naturally you are having that microorganisms, isn't it? You are taking in, and naturally what will happen? It will affect your digestion, it will affect your metabolism, and naturally disease will be caused, like vomiting, loose motions and all. So now let us study about the food preservation. Okay, why food? Why there is a requirement of preservation, beta? Because here what happens on the food? What acts the microorganisms? Because they have to also feed, and they are living organisms. You all know bacteria and all. Even viruses, when they infect the body, they are living. Okay, so basically, when we talk about the food, it is being infected by what? The bacteria. Okay, the bacteria is what? A microorganism. Okay, and it spoils the food. Why? It produces toxin in that. Okay, so we need to preserve the food. So how can this preservations we can do it, or we can carry over so that the food can be more useful for us. Okay, so now let us see. When we talk about mangoes, okay, so when the fruit, when it is raw, okay, we see that yes, after some days, 2 or 3 or even week, after 1 week, that fruit gets spoiled up or it becomes totally rotten, है ना? If it is ripe fruit, वो एक ही 2 दिन में खराब हो जाता है, एक ही 2 दिन में rotten हो जाता है, okay? But when we talk about the pickles, we are making the pickles from that raw mangoes only. But are the pickles being spoiled up within 2 or 3 days or within a week? Never. We keep the pickles for years. Okay, for 1 year, 2 year also even we can eat it. Why? What is the reason behind it? That the same mangoes which were raw got rotten within 2 or 3 days or within a week, but the pickles, they are retained for a year or even more than that. Okay, actually the thing is that in the pickles, preservation has been carried out. Now, the process of preservation has been carried out, but not with the case of the raw fruits. So, कैसे preservation हुआ है उसमें? You have seen your mother making pickles. Okay, what does she do? First of all, the mangoes are dried, water is being removed, okay, and then salt is being added. What does this salt do? They take out the excess moisture which is present in the raw mangoes. Because if that moisture is not removed, it is a favorable condition for the microorganism to grow. Okay, and as the result, we are seeing that yes, in the raw mangoes, it is consisting of the total water content, and as the result, the microorganism being a favorable condition, they grow and spoil it within few days only. But in the pickles, what happens, as we have used salt as which has taken out the excess of moisture, we are also using oil or vinegar. This oil or vinegar is also a condition in which the microorganisms cannot grow. Okay, it is an unfavorable condition for the growth of the microorganisms if we are using oil or vinegar. So all the things, vinegar also has been used, oil has also been used, and the moisture has been removed with the help of the salt. And as the result, what happened? These pickles can be kept for years, and we can use it and we can eat it because it doesn't get rotten. Okay, it means the microorganism has not acted on it. And if it has not acted, it has not produced the toxins, and it is good for eating. But when we talk about this raw mangoes, microorganisms have already acted on it, and as the result, we can't have it because it has produced toxin in that. Okay, now, so some of the methods of this preservation of the food, okay, the chemical methods, let us see, okay, because what is happening basically over, we are using certain substances, okay, and yes, with that, what we are doing, the preservations, okay. So first is one, the salts, okay, and the edible oil, okay. These are the common things, or we can say common chemicals also, like if we are saying salt, it is consisting of like NaCl and other elements and the compounds also in that, okay. So here, salts and edible oil are the common chemicals which we use for the food preservation at our homes, okay. If we are using this, naturally what happens, they are used as the preservatives in the pickles and the salt. Pickles, I have just explained you all that yes, this salt and the oil, basically at home, we have these two ingredients and we use that for the preservation of the food. Even if you use too much of oil in the food can go for certain longer duration rather than if you have added very less amount of oil. Okay. Now, other preservatives, chemical preservatives are for the pickles. You might have seen your mother adding sodium benzoate or sodium metabisulfate. Okay, these two chemicals, sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite. Okay, here these can be used in the pickles and other sauces and all also. Okay, beta. Now, next, preservation by salt. Okay, suppose this meat or fish is there. Okay, how it is cooked? First of all, it is washed properly, and then what is added? This salt is added. I have said you why. What is the function of this salt? It removes the moisture from that. So meat and fish and all, they have large content of moisture in them, or large content of water in them, and this can be removed with the help of the salt. It extracts all the water from that, thereby hindering the growth of microorganism in that. Okay, and if they are not growing, if the bacteria is not growing naturally, all the meat and fishes and all, it will be kept or used for a large duration of time. Okay, now if we talk about this raw mangoes, okay, the amla, the tamarind, we all use this and we all need to preserve it. We need to preserve it. We can use this salt so that, again I am saying its function to remove the moisture from that substance. And yes, when the moisture has been removed, that substance can be kept for longer duration of time, because here it is not providing a favorable condition for the bacteria to grow. These are all unfavorable conditions. When the salt is extracting the moisture, it gives an unfavorable condition or provides an unfavorable condition for the microbes to grow. Especially which one? The bacteria. Okay. Now, another method with which we can preserve is the Heat and cold treatment. Okay, so what is this heat and cold treatment? Okay, बहुत सारे milk, number of varieties, number of brands of milk are there in the market. Okay, Amul is there, Mother Dairy is there, number of brands are there. What are they doing? Why we are getting that milk and we are keeping it for even months and we are using it? There must be some phenomenon behind it which has been used for its preservation, isn't it? And that is nothing but that process is the what? The pasteurization. So what is this pasteurization? You must understand that. Okay. So in this we are seeing that this milk, okay, first of all it is heated till 70 degrees Celsius. Okay. And when it reaches that temperature, okay, it is kept for 15 to 30 seconds. Okay. And after that, what? Suddenly it is being cooled down. Okay. So here we are heating to a certain temperature, that is 70 degrees Celsius, keeping it for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly cooling it. In this, what happens? It creates an unfavorable condition for the microorganisms to grow. They can't grow in that condition, and as the result, it can be stored for a longer duration of time. Okay, as the microbes are not growing in it, and if it is not growing, the commodity or the substance is not being spoiled. The milk remains for even months in that manner only, and we can have it. So this process of heating and sudden then cooling it, okay, it is known as what? Pasteurization. Okay. Now, who was the scientist who gave this pasteurization, said about this pasteurization? He was Louis Pasteur. From his name only came pasteurization. Okay. Now, again coming to the preservation can be done by vinegar and oil. I have explained you in the picker. We use oil or vinegar to store it because why? They are creating an unfavorable condition for this microorganism, this bacteria to grow. They can't grow in that. Okay, and naturally we can keep that substance for a longer duration of time for our use. Okay, now we have seen about the jam, jellies and all. It consists of sugar. Okay, isn't it? What is and that sugar also to a larger extent only, it is quite sweet, isn't it? So what is the function of this sugar? Actually here, like salt, sugar also absorbs the moisture, and when it absorbs the moisture, naturally it inhibits the growth of the microorganism, doesn't provide the condition for the microorganisms to grow. And this is how the squash, the jellies and the jams, they are made and they are kept for longer duration of time. Okay, now one more thing how you can preserve it. These all bacteria and the microorganism, that is bacteria only, basically I said to you for the food items. Okay, so here in this, if storage and packaging is proper, it means what? If the air is not allowed to enter, these microorganisms will not grow, isn't it? It will be slowed down and even it will not grow, and the thing can be kept for longer duration of time. Okay, so whatever it is, like pickles only kept, if it is not kept in airtight containers, naturally what will happen? Again the microorganism spores will enter, and if it enters with the air only, it is being transmitted mainly, and yes, if it enters, it will spoil the thing which is kept inside it. So if the containers are totally airtight, okay, we can inhibit the growth of the microorganisms. Okay, so this is about the food preservation. Now we are going to study about what is this role of this bacteria, okay, in nitrogen fixation. Now regarding the nitrogen fixation, okay, this we have studied about in class 7 also about this, that yes, this bacteria, they fixes the nitrogen, okay, in the leguminous plants. They have got root nodules, isn't it? And in those root nodules, what is present? This basically we talk about microorganism like rhizobium, okay, it is present. What does it do? It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen to the soil, because atmospheric nitrogen can't be used by the plants by itself, isn't it? It has to be converted into what? Its nitrate form, and then only the plant can use it. And this is done with the help of the bacterium, that is the rhizobium, isn't it? It fixes the nitrogen in the soil, thereby the plant use that nitrogen for its growth. And here what is this rhizobium is getting shelter in the case of this leguminous plant's root in the nodules, isn't it? So here we are seeing which relationship? A symbiotic relationship. Okay. So now let us study about this whole nitrogen cycle. Okay, what it is. So see this atmospheric nitrogen. Okay. Here we can see that this atmospheric nitrogen is being fixed by bacteria. Okay, in the soil. By what? This bacterium. Okay, how does it fix this atmospheric nitrogen? By changing this nitrogen which is in the gaseous form to nitrogenous compounds like the nitrates. Okay, this atmospheric nitrogen, by the help of lightning also, it can be fixed in the soil. How? Because when the lightning occurs, this atmospheric nitrogen changes into the compounds of nitrogen, okay, in the soil. Now, when this soil has got this nitrogen has been fixed and the compound of nitrogen has been formed, okay, it is taken by the plants for their growth and for their use, okay, and in turn, we see what these plants can be taken by the what? The animals which eats or which feeds on these plants, okay, and even these animals can be the human beings also, because in animal groups only we come the human beings, okay. So all the animals which takes these plants, okay, they take in, and what happens? In the process of excretion, in their excreta or the waste product, they excrete out what? This nitrogenous products, okay, and here in their excretion as well as when they die, okay, their body is consisting of this nitrogenous substances, okay, they again, what happens? Come to the soil. They are returned back to the soil basically. And then what happens? The bacteria turn this compounds of nitrogen, okay, into the gaseous nitrogen. Again, this other form of bacteria, okay, what they do? They now, these compounds of nitrogen, okay, are now again turned into the nitrogenous or the gaseous form, okay, and return to the atmosphere. And this is whole totally, we are seeing we have started from atmospheric nitrogen and we have ended in nitrogen, this atmospheric nitrogen. This means what? Total a cycle has taken place, okay, in which we have started from atmospheric nitrogen, okay, the bacteria is fixing it in the soil for the plants use, the plant is taking in, and the animals which is feeding on the plants, okay, in return in their excreta products, after that this again, this nitrogenous substances are released in the soil, which is again being changed by the bacteria, okay, into the gaseous form, this nitrogen, thereby returning it in the atmosphere, okay. So today we have studied about the harmful effects of bacteria, okay, the preservation of food and nitrogen cycle, and from this we come to the end of this chapter, okay. So hope you might have understood it. Good day, take care.